In this episode, we speak with Anaggh Desai, who is an executive business coach, turnaround specialist, outsourced CXO, and mentor to CEOs, owners, SMEs, and professionals. Anagh's career spans over 3 decades, and he has worked in industries like market research, hospitality, mail order, logistics, to travel, .com, and finally retail. In 2019, he launched the 1 Hour Mentor, a freemium offering for startups, individuals, and SMEs. In this episode, Anaggh spoke about the BOT philosophy of his work life, that is, build, own, and transfer. We also spoke about the skills required to stay future relevant and the importance of consistency while building your personal brand. Anagh's life and work is about relationship building, and yet he doesn't shy away from calling a spade a spade. I had a lot of fun probing Anaggh and hope you'll find this as insightful as I did. Hi, Anaggh. Welcome to this CTQ Smart Cast.
Thank you so much, Harish, for having me here.
Yeah.
And I guess it's going to be an entertaining and a learning 1 hour for me.
Yeah, I'm expecting the same. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I've been stalking you on Twitter for some time. So one of the sharpest insights that I see on Twitter come from you. So it was just the time was ripe to get you on this smartcast and try to pick your brains for an hour today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll start with something which is probably the most interesting introduction that we've had on the CTQ Smartcast. When I asked Anaggh for his introduction, he said, entrepreneur by attitude, employee by choice. Now, entrepreneur by choice and employee by attitude. So if you can just unpack that, what does that mean and what do you want to convey there?
So, I started my career like a nice, Brahmin boy with family against all what I had selected. So I come from a family of doctors, engineers, and the usual. So as a person who did not want to do all of that, I chose to do something else. And at that point of time, I was very clear that I wanted an entrepreneurial attitude, but I was an employee by choice. I mean, somebody couldn't tell me कि तुम नौकरी करना है जिंदगी भर, या you have to work throughout your life or whatever. So my approach has always been, entrepreneurial. These days, youngsters and the other call them intrapreneurs. So large companies. But when I started, I don't think that word was coined or was in use very much. So that's how it began. Then when I moved away from the corporate gig and gave up my suits, I said, now what? It was no longer applicable. So that is when I said that, I will remain an employee by attitude. So, if you are paying me, I will not force myself onto you because you are paying me for what I'm delivering to you. Value addition, I can ask extra and you have to pay me or we part ways. So it's still an employee mindset, not a pure consulting or, agency mindset where, I know everything and you have to listen to me as a client kind of a thing. So that's the difference. So I changed my mindset. It took time, obviously, because like we say that, one, it's very lonely at the top. Two is when you give everything up overnight and try to see something else, it becomes a kind of risk. So that's what it basically means. I flipped it around completely from an entrepreneur mindset to an employee mindset today, and working as an employee to an entrepreneur now.
Right, right. And you mentioned the change in attitude and mindset was gradual. But was there an aha moment when you realized that, oh, these facets of mine remain constant and this is what has changed?
Uh, okay, I will narrate a small anecdote here. When I moved away in 2010, 2011, and started consulting and mentoring, and a couple of times I used to come home and just crib about it, and the wife would listen to me, and One fine day, she told me, there were just two of us and we were driving somewhere together. And she just mentioned, she says, you are trying to change. But he says, everything can change. मगर फितरत बदलती नहीं है. So she said that at one point of time, when you were at the top, when you would walk in, I mean, there used to be that respect, fear, which was still, very palpable and, kind of a thing. Now, all of a sudden, you're trying to say, Haji sir, it can't work.
Right.
It will take time for you to understand. It will take time for others to understand. And whilst you may not do it for everything, but your area of expertise, why should you allow people to, run you down? You don't, and which is where I decided, yes. So let me continue the way I am. And which made it also very, very clear in my mind that I would rather work with people who I like to work, people who appreciate. I mean, though I've made a lot of mistakes, but still.
So, Anag, you worked in a variety of roles and industry domains. The first question that comes to mind is, when you actually made these switches, how deliberate were they? Did you actually sit down and say, okay, now I've spent enough time in this. This is probably the next stage for me in my career or in my life, and I need to make these changes. Was it deliberate or was it more of, okay, this is what emerged and you took that up?
Thinking was deliberate. Getting something and making the shift was destiny.
Okay.
So things like when I did my post graduation, we had a subject which was called services marketing,
Mhm.
and I'm talking about eons back or decades back, and I fell in love with that subject, which told me at that point of time, in way back in 84, 85, that a product can become a commodity, service can never become a commodity. A mistake in a product may not get the client back to you. A mistake in a service will always get a client back to you. And I saw the future was getting to be pretty marketing services oriented.
Right.
And which is where I said that, okay, if uh, I'm just a, master's, and if I have to compete with engineers and all of them, I need to be ahead of the curve. So I need to select industries which are just on the verge of taking off.
Mhm.
So straight from campus, I joined LV Courier, which was, UPS at that point of time. Worked there for 6 years, moved all across the country, including Bangladesh. Came back, started my own business, ended up with 200 people, and then, ran out of money. Came back to Bombay, worked for a year and a half. And then I said, enough. I mean, 8 years in the logistics business. I know it will grow. I know there is a lot of potential. But it was the same thing over and over again. I mean, intellectual cap was getting drained out because you're talking to courier boys who are 9th standard pass, 10th standard pass, and it's SOP driven, so on and so forth. So I said something in hospitality or something in services I want to shift. And so I started talking to friends who were in the hotel industry. And mind you, I had been selected for the overall school of management, but family said no, like the usual filmy हमारे घर से बावर्ची नहीं बनता है kind of a scenario. So anyway, and one fine day, I had sent an application to a company, and I was the only person called. I mean, I had no qualifications to actually. I was called. Couple of interviews were conducted, and they said yes, but we don't want you for the position which you have applied. We want you for a position of something else. So they hired me as a vice president corporate planning. And I spent a good 5.5 years there, built up their business travel. I worked for Cox and Kings. I built up the business travel, their outbound travel. It was just in the nascent stage. People didn't know what outbound travel was. So, and then created an environment where we were going to do an online business. And so replaced myself with the necessary COOs and all of that. And then suddenly their internal issues uh, led to nothing happening. So I had to leave and join a e-commerce company. You know, that's the dot-com era in 1999. So I joined a dot-com company, worked there, learned, and then my wife was running you know, what we call as a mail order business. Earlier, if you remember, with the credit cards, there used to be those mail inserts.
Right.
So we used to do that. So my wife said, "You go around and talk to people and all that. Why don't you know, organize some funds for us so that?" And we were not looking at much. I mean, we were just looking at like what 10 lakhs or something. I mean, okay, wait, that means a $500,000 today. But anyway, so I went for that. I had a chat with a couple of people. And then the next day, he again called me for a chat. And I said, "Boss, ho gaya apna kaam." But then I realized that there was a misunderstanding. They thought I'd come for a job, and I thought they were giving me money. But anyway, I took the job. It was with ICICI Ventures. Spent time there, moved to Gitanjali, retail, Damas in Dubai, and then back here. So now, when I look at all of this background, is what is common is people are common. Logistics for everything is common. Relationship is common. So I have always preferred the B2C or a relationship industry where the same person to whom I sold, or like a Coke or a Pepsi, in maybe whatever, I don't know, in 86 or 87, I sold them courier business. In 96, 97, I sold them travel, right? And then subsequently something else, and then subsequently something else. So to say my customers and clients have not changed,
Right.
but at different facets of life or different times of life, I've been able to sell them different products. And that has been, you know, the reason of my having been reasonably successful across industries, being ahead of the curve, B2C as a focus area, relationship as a focus area. And well, that's more or less it.
Right. Yeah. So the one word that I have heard a lot, and I've seen a lot in your tweets, and you also started with that, when we started this conversation, was the word learning. When you move from one domain to another, and you, to me, as someone who's seeing you from a distance, learning is a big part of your life. Every thing that you take up, you're looking at what can I learn from it. So is there a particular routine that you follow, or some hacks that you do in terms of note taking, or how you learn? What is your secret for learning?
I'm a voracious reader and a note taker. I have multiple colored notebooks, though that's my love for stationery rather than actually note taking. But yes, and one of my simplest hack is any company I join, my first month I spend with the lowest denominator of the company.
Right.
Easiest way to learn, fastest way to learn, and quickest way to get them to accept you.
True.
So that's a hack which has been of immense use. I mean, I don't, and obviously mystery this thing, because a lot of times, you know, when you join at a certain level, it's that, like you have this major PR article saying ITC CEO does market visit. Well, you have the three VPs, three this thing, a cavalcade of four cars going, and the CEO talking to market. Who is going to tell him anything here?
Right.
So when my market visit or whenever I used to go, like when I was in retail, I would go before a shop opens and sit in the mall without the store knowing that the entire day the CEO has been sitting outside watching what is coming in, what is going out. So, I mean, that's the observation which you very quickly pick up and learn. And it's a difficult hack, but
It gets you unfiltered news.
unfiltered, yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So again, when I look back at your career, this concept of this tertiary career came up. We'd heard of this sometime back. The idea was that whatever you study in college is probably relevant from say age 25 to 40. Then you need to reinvent yourself. That's when your secondary career starts. So 40 to 60 is what they say is the secondary career. By that time, whatever you've learned in the past has gone completely obsolete, and that's when you need to actually start your tertiary career, because now there's no concept of retirement anymore, right? So how do you subscribe to this idea, and how do you see yourself going through these careers? Have you actually traversed through a primary, secondary, tertiary career? What stage are you in right now?
A little bit of fine tuning in terms of from an ops to a hardcore marketing to top this thing. Obviously, there is always a tertiary and a primary focus area. But it's like, I hated maths. Okay, I hated arithmetic. Throughout my career, I've had to work on Excels because as a profit center, you cannot do without that. So you develop that skill. Now, what people talk about different careers, I believe that what brings you out of college, there are two ways to approach it. One, somebody who is very clear that my path is, product manager, brand manager, marketing manager, thing, and maybe retire as a VP, or maybe if my luck is good, CEO. My take on it was very different. I wanted to be a journalist so that I could fit in wherever there was an opening. And my specialty was relationship building. So I focused on that. I turned my skills into capability, right? Because just selling will remain a skill, and then you need to search for something else as a career. But if you are not only selling, you're doing a lot of other things. You're learning, picking up, and developing yourself. And there is I know you have stalked me, but I don't think you've Googled me enough. But there is a couple of, phrases which are there. One is I have always worked on a BOT principle throughout my career. So the first year when I join is I don't care you like me, you don't like me, whatever it is. I'll do what is to be done. I build for what I was hired. The second year I own that entire thing. So I don't know. I mean, if you have given me a Western region, by second year, I mean, there's not a single client who will not know me. There's not a single person who will not know me. Industry, non-industry, the works. And third is when the transfer begins, because I want to either grow and take on additional responsibility or move out. Because after that, it's like 17 साल एक ही काम किया तो कोई फायदा नहीं है kind of a thing, because I'm not in manufacturing. In manufacturing, that works. So when I do the transfer, is I always have two options of, my either a peer or below, out of which in the end somebody takes my position. So it is transfer. And that has, to an extent, worked extremely well for me all throughout, because that question never ever arises by, to people I report here, if you are not there, who? And which is why I maintain that unless you make yourself replaceable,
Right.
nobody can come. When I say replaceable in the sense is in that thing, I mean, 3 years, you should be able to give the confidence to your board or your confidence to your CEO, saying, the boss, I have worked 3 years now. You put this guy in here. I'm still here for 1 more year. Let him do it. I'm here to support it. I will take care of his problems and mistakes and give me some more work. So that is what I prefer, a journalist specializing in something and always looking out for something else. Rather than, classify it as a career. So I would rather say that you have certain skill sets, maybe post college also. But unless you convert those skills into capabilities, it's not like it's like Excel. Today, if you have seen most of the BCom guys writing knowledge of tally. What is knowledge of tally? मेरे को input करने आता है. Now, unless they convert that to a capability, saying that what reports can I get from tally, how can I help management and all that, they are not going to grow. And that is a different career, no? So you see a lot of analysts today. What are they? I mean, people who have learned how to read Excel and help, and then eventually, when there is an app or a software developed for it, put in the logic and work with it. I mean, that's what capability is all about.
This was something that you mentioned in the Twitter thread that you posted about skills that will become important in 2021. I wanted to ask you to unpack this specific one that you just mentioned, that you may not be promoted unless you are replaceable. This sounds a bit counterintuitive on multiple levels. One is the general wisdom that you always hear is, no, you should be the one, you are the only one who should be doing something. That's when management will value you, and all of that. Another thought that we ourselves have been championing a lot is that if you're doing the same thing that you were doing last year, then you're doing something wrong, because you've not grown in your capability, or the organization you are not helping the organization grow. So just help us unpack this statement that you made. How easy or difficult is it for people to actually accept this on face value and actually do something about it? Many people may say yes, they agree with you, but when they go back to their job slash company, even if they are owning it,
nobody will agree, including a lot of high profile HR people also, because two things. One is, I still maintain, and HR does everything at the end, unless he has gone out and sold in 42 degrees in Chennai, Bombay, Ahmedabad. I don't consider him of business value. Number one. Number two is, HR's primary job is to keep everybody happy. And that is a very difficult task. Now, coming to irreplaceable or something, it's, there's this thing which I don't know if you are aware of, but a person can only grow to his highest level of incompetence.
right?
So the highest level of incompetence is, like, as an example, you have hired, maybe 5 years ago, you hired a cashier, BCom fresh graduate cashier, अच्छा काम किया, very wonderful worker, hard worker, skilled worker, always willing to help out, ये है, वो है. 5 years gone, 6 years gone, you have given him the 10%, 12%, 10%, 12% every year. From 10,000 rupees, he is now drawing 22,000 rupees. You need an accounts person. You hire somebody from outside, okay, who has 5 years of experience, and give him 30,000 rupees. This chap will come up to you and say, hey, why did you not give me this job? Right? He is neither tried to upgrade his skills, and he's remained a cashier. So a cashier, even if he does 30 years, he cannot become a CFO. He will remain a cashier. You understand? Now, if he had come to you 3 years later, कि ये काम से मैं थक गया हूँ, I want to learn something more. And can we get a junior person at 8,000 who will manage cash? Because I think I have systematized everything, and we now need just a person to do the day-to-day things. There would have been a value. That would have been a replacement. But no, because he will not come, entrepreneurs and HR people in India will allow it to happen by default. Most managers in India are by default managers.
Right.
ओके तो 5 साल हो गया तभी असिस्टेंट मैनेजर बनाना ही पड़ेगा ना. अरे यार उसका ही इज 50,000 रुपीज तो डेप्यूटी मैनेजर बनाना ही पड़ेगा ना. ही इज डूइंग द सेम वर्क. When he retires also he will do the same work, but by default you are constantly upgrading. And the fear is अरे यार if we don't do deputy manager he'll leave, तो नया ढूंढना पड़ेगा. ठीक है यार दे दो ना, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, डेप्यूटी मैनेजर he is doing the same work. So that on one side. The other side is, you will go and ask for, because you are not asking throughout the year, you will go and ask, "Arey sir, what 10%? Give me 12%." No, he'll give, because that buffer is always there. So it's very, very funny. In fact, when I, you sent this to me and I wrote about it, I said, it's like becoming, very, very simple, that people do not want to take the risk. You may not be promoted unless you are irreplaceable, right? That's what you said.
Right.
And most managers in most Indian ownership companies are default. Appraisal and increment is not linked.
Correct.
Sir, मेरा appraisal नहीं हुआ. अरे boss, appraisal and increment have nothing to do with each other. How many people will accept this? You tell me, including HR.
Right.
No, because people believe that appraisal होना ही मांगता है और appraisal हुआ तो increment मिलना ही मांगता है. Not true.
Right.
And we, as a culture, we're so scared of firing people. कि उसको बुरा लगेगा तो. अरे boss, you are trying to run the company, and after like pandemic happened, everybody was now let go, no? वो default में हो गया ना. उससे अच्छा did most of the companies try and save money? No, when the going is good, take more offices, take this, take that, show off करने के लिए भी invested in infrastructure, all of that. When the shit hits the fan, it all comes boiling down. So that irreplaceable, I am irreplaceable, is, I think the last 10 years you must have been reading about it. Okay, machines will replace humans. Has it happened? No. Today, more 80% of Indian-owned companies will be working on computers which are 10 years old.
Correct.
Right? So, where internet? What are we talking about? It's just those, top 2% or 3% of the MNCs who have come in, or the new age entrepreneurs who walk around with Macs and, books and all that, talk about it.
So, when you talk about this, inability or the difference between the appraisal and, increment and all, is refusal to give and accept feedback at the heart of this?
Oh, yeah. See, it's a monkey off my back, no? The immediate manager will never ever want to tell somebody you are not performing. So, which is why most companies, you will find the immediate manager, HR person, and the other boss. The HR person doing most of the talking during appraisal. And it's a question of tutu meme, because in the entire year, who's done what, everybody's forgotten.
Right.
But things are changing. I'm not saying things are not changed or things are not changing. Things are changing. But see, like an employee, when he comes for a job, he's a capitalist. When you ask him to leave, he becomes a socialist.
Right.
Right? हमको अमेरिका जैसा चाहिए. अमेरिका में 3 दिन का नोटिस पे निकाल देता है ना यार. वो नहीं. वो रशिया का जैसा चाहिए कि एक बार अंदर गुस्सा बाद में निकालने का नहीं.
So, any anecdotes that come to mind in terms of how people have actually done this well of making them replaceable? I'm not talking about yourself, about others that you have seen who have done a great job of making themselves replaceable, who also probably follow the BOT principle.
Uh, Often, I mean, in direct context, um, I would say a couple of my peer group has done it reasonably well, and but moving out of the organization is I don't know offhand even amongst my peer group, because I mean my school friends also still laugh that every 3 years we read in the newspapers that you moved somewhere else. So we don't know actually where you are. But otherwise, yes, I mean, being and handing it over and all, in the retail industry, definitely yes. In travel, yes, for sure. And in logistics, it's, there are only 4 companies, so where do you go? So
Right.
the Blue Dart, 3 saal kiya, then you go to DHL, DHL, say, वापस Blue Dart, one rung higher. And
So, any practical ways in which people who want to do this, can do that. So, one idea that we had proposed to one company, to the managers, it was an MNC. So, what we proposed to them was, why don't you actually tell your bosses who are working who are located in the US, that from today for the next 2 quarters, I will do 20% of what you are doing. And this led to a bit of discomfort for both their leaders as well as these people. They felt a bit threatened. But you said the whole point is, if these people are doing 20% of your work, you will obviously give away the most menial kind of work to them. It will definitely be more than what they're doing right now, so they will grow. And now you have that 20% slack in your time, so you go and do something else. So then there was a bit more cohesion, and they actually started doing something like this. So any practical ways in which people can think about making themselves replaceable?
see, I would say replaceable would be something as to growth dependent. So in some ways, if assume I am the sales head of say Western region, and typically West is, there is always a zonal manager who is based out of Bombay, and then you will have a regional manager based out of Nagpur, and so on and so forth, and then area managers and territory managers. That's
Right.
the normal FMCG and sales model, which is there. Now, the 2 regional managers or 3 regional managers or the 2 area managers can, if that area can be combined to make it larger enough for a regional person, then the 2 area managers are told that if you deliver this, one of you will move to head office or zonal office, and one of you will move here instead of an outside recruitment. So if you are operating with say 6 area managers, and you always have a need of a distribution head or something at the zonal office, one of them, not all of them want to keep doing sales throughout their life. Some of them want to shift also. And that, instead of recruiting from outside, getting a person move laterally and at a little higher position, and his colleague or his peer take over both the roles, which means both of them are getting into the stretch mechanism. One of them is learning a new speciality which will be of use to him. So his biodata also can write sales and distribution is handled. The other guy is moved from say, I don't know, Indore Bhopal to MP as a area which is a larger area. So that those are small ways, means, method, but it requires structure. It requires a buy-in from everybody concerned.
Right.
And there, unfortunately, logic will be the only thing which will work. Sentiments and emotions will not work. मेरा आदमी है तो तेरे को यहाँ ला रहा हूँ, then it all goes kaput.
Correct. And how should people think about this if, like you said, there isn't enough management buy-in? So should they be,
You keep on trying.
yeah,
See, one of the ways of your moving upward is, unless you are able to convince that person and you move upwards,
right,
or if that person is scared of you, then you know it's time for you to leave. No,
correct,
so either way, you have to experiment with it. No,
right, right. Another skill that you mentioned, and I think it is the right time to bring this in, when you're talking about how to go and convince your managers. One of the skills that you listed is effective communication. And, especially in the last 1 year, communication has become so much more important because written communication has become, omnipresent. Everyone needs to document what they're doing, and the audio visual communication has also become a lot more important. People need to know how to do podcasts and video webinars and all of these things. So expand a bit on what you meant when you said effective communication. Only in terms of persuasion or
no, no, no.
ability to put their
No.
put their
For
thoughts
me,
across.
communication means keeping people informed, sharing, engaging. Written, audio, video are just platforms. Written, audio, video are just platforms. But what I have seen is in the last 8 years, 10 years, is people who have studied in the best of schools, the written English is so poor. And given that we as a country use English extensively, and at times I realize that it has nothing to do with their skill or their knowledge, but it has everything to do with just laziness and ठीक है क्या फर्क पड़ता है. So you find this agencies, PR agencies and all of them, or even brands for that matter. The trainee will be recruited. Okay, you send off this, 100 emails. So without checking, they will get that IT guy to configure their machine and they will start sending it off. किसी में Mr. है, Mrs. है, वो तो नहीं. Now I am old, so people tell me that there's no need to use Mr. I said fair enough, but then understand it. If it is Desai, it has to be Mr. Desai, or if it is only first name, then it has to be Anaggh. It
Right.
cannot be Desai.
Correct.
So I said that has to be understood, and it's just like template version because there's no learning, no. You join the next day, बोला ये email भेज दो, event है. कहाँ से है? नहीं, वही computer पे there will be an old template. Just use it, change it, and send it off. So you will find 3 names, spelling mistake galore, everything. I mean, all across. And the bloody mobile phones have screwed up everybody's life. Till literally 2009, I would not give my mobile phone number to anybody. I'll say, this is my office number. Please call me at the office. Today, everybody has your mobile number. We keep talking about privacy and all that, but everybody has, and nobody cares. And there's no such thing as manners in terms of time or anything. रात को 11 बजे, hello, I'm calling from this. Are you free tomorrow? For what? So communication today, when I use the word communication, effective communication is what should be communicated to whom, where, all of that has become too templated as a version. And nobody is really interested because that does not seem to be the priority of people. WhatsApp पे बोल दिया, अच्छा ठीक है. WhatsApp is not an official communication here, but it's okay. I mean, client also prefers WhatsApp. So I guess things have changed, and probably that is how it will work. But examples of people who say that internationally this is how it is done. I'm sorry to say internationally this is not how it is done. This is India who is talking about doing communication this way. Internationally, it does not happen this way.
Right.
So that's where, and audio visual, I think it's a very good way of communication, because at least people who are unable to type but can speak different languages, it's nice to they have an option of doing an audio visual version rather than trying to type in Marathi and this and that and all that, and somebody on the opposite side not understanding how to read Marathi.
Right.
So I think that's it. But these are things which will maybe settle down with time as things improve. But I don't know. On one hand, we always seem to run out of. There's nobody to write content. There's nobody to write content. And when people come back with written content, you suddenly realize that it's better that you could have written for a while.
I think that's the right time to bring in the next section where I wanted to ask you about the mentoring. So can you tell us more about the 1 hour mentor program that you run, and do you actually pick the kind of people that you want to mentor? How should they approach you?
So this came about from a thing in after I joined from campus. I decided to myself that for every year of my career, I will want to meet at least 200 new people a year. Okay, so easy sales, hai, distribution, hai, recruitment, hai, all of them. So there was no problem in that, and it kept on happening. Then quality started getting better, and so on. So like uh, 2009, when I came back from Dubai, and I was mentoring the Bombay store, and subsequently joined them as an external CEO. Uh, uh, Twitter had just started off, and there were a couple of us, and we would just say that low parallel Phoenix, let's have coffee, and there would be like 8, 10, 12 people gathered for coffee and just chit chatting and picking each other's brains. And then people said, there are too many people. If you want to talk to you alone, how do we do it? So I said, okay. So I fixed a Wednesday where I would be available at a particular brew coffee shop. So there were like 5 or 7, and I would go to different locations every Wednesday. So like 3 p.m. to whatever 7 or something, and 2, 3 people who will drop in. Then it moved, kept on meeting. Then brew shut down, so met and meet. We launched 1+99 experience consulting. So that kept us busy. And then finally, one fine day we said, and I said, now I want to restrict people. I said 1 hour is good enough, because I realized that otherwise it goes all over the place and nothing really. So in 2019, I said I will start meeting people. Calendly, you booked my Calendly and all that, and I just wanted to see what happens. So then there were these people who came and approached me, and there were these people, a couple of them whom I mentored. Then last year I realized most of them were coming to pick my brains, get an idea, or get an introduction to somebody. So we said, fair enough. I mean, no harm done. But I said, in which case you are making money. So if you are making money, then you have to give me money. It's as simple as that. So I decided to start charging from last year. Okay. So those who had come, met me and all of them, those were separate, but otherwise. So altogether, in nearly like a year, I met 300 people, out of which maybe 10-12% would be paid. The rest were all free. So it works like this: is I keep announcing, or there is a write up also on my blog, and people, you know, tag me, or they can go to the 2 links and book their time, and I talk to them. They have to fill in a form. I speak to them. I ask them about their basics because one of the most important things is everybody wants to start off with a bang, but forgetting that the basics, if they are not in place. So start with that. And then a couple of them want to move on to the 1 plus 99 scenario, which is brand behavior, customer experience. How do we enlarge that and all that? So they take a long-term consultation separately. And some look at mentor packages, which is, you know, uh, whatever, 9 hours over 3 months and on specifics or just a goal setting and goal achieving of 3 hours.
Right.
So different packages, they avail of different packages. And that is not to say that I don't do, free mentoring as in free mentoring. I also do that. But I have realized that, uh, people, one, they don't want to pay you. Okay. All your new age entrepreneurs want everything free. And even after they get their funding, they still don't want to pay you. Then they will get in somebody from Singapore to advise them because वहाँ बहुत अच्छा सिखाया है. So I don't get into that. I said, okay, now you pay us. This is what it is. If you pay me, I'm available. If you don't pay me, I'm not available to talk. Simple.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and this hourly also puts pressure onto you to be prepared, on me to be
Correct.
prepared. Otherwise, it's that availability. ठीक है, आप Wednesday को आ जाना. So Wednesday the whole day I am there, and you're not even paying me for my whole day.
Right.
So that's more or less has been good, bad, ugly. Uh, some of them who also have signed agreements and then quietly went and sold it off to Reliance and not paid me. ठीक है, I mean that's okay. तकदीर में लिखा है तो लिखा है क्या है.
Right, right, yeah. But I think this has been the best metric that I've heard in terms of measuring. If anyone claims to be a people person, the next time I'm going to ask them, how many people do you meet in a year? That's a number that I think is really fantastic. If you have that kind of a number, then you'll figure out ways to make sure you're meeting that target, right?
Absolutely.
So that's a great insight that I picked up from this this section of the interview. A follow-up question to what you talked about mentoring. Uh, any surprising insights that you learned from your mentoring experiences?
So that's what I said. No, India is a land of free. Just like the first salary is the last salary. So a lot of people will give you that 1 hour, and then because your number is with them, after a while they will 2 महीने के बाद they will say, this is it, how are you? And the next question is, yeah, you know this gentleman, so can you introduce me? And all of them will spend on committing the same mistakes over and over again, but not pay anybody else to help them overcome. There's this cat. It's related to the leopard. Leopard came and said कि गुरु हो आप, मेरे को सिखाओ सब कुछ ये वो करके. तो सिखाया, किया, मेंटरशिप किया, सब कुछ किया. फिर बोला अभी पैसा. तो बोला पैसा क्यों, मैं खा जाऊंगा ना तुमको. तो कैट इज रनिंग दिस, ये आगे पीछे आगे पीछे आगे. कैट क्लाइम्स a tree on the top. The leopard can't climb there. After a while, he said, I'll sit down. He said, you can sit down as much as you want. I won't come down. So, ये तो सिखाया नहीं था तुमने. तो इसके लिए तो पैसा मांगा था ना. So that is an insight which I carry now, that I will teach you everything, but I won't provide you solutions.
Right.
If you want solutions, Google is there, YouTube is there. No, why hire me?
Correct. So, in fact, on this note about mentoring, a previous guest on the CTQ Smart Cast had a very interesting point to make. what he said was, managers who are trying to mentor, subordinates with the best of intentions will try to, tell a story that back in the day I did this, and this is how I solved the problem. But according to him, that usually doesn't help these, these younger subordinates that this manager is trying to help, because the context would have changed. uh, the manager doesn't teach the, these youngsters how to think about that problem. The manager just tells how he solved the problem in his day. So what do you, think about this? Some comment on, this process of mentoring where people want to do but may not be that good at mentoring, the science or process of mentoring itself.
Context rarely changes. Application does, and so does results. And unless there is mutual respect, it does not work. Mentor should be using his anecdotes to help mentees understand and not force fit a solution.
Right.
मैं ये किया था तो ऐसे ही सेल करो आप जाके तो होगा नहीं होता है
नहीं
वैसे.
होगा.
He has to understand the environment, he has to understand the changes, he has to apply his learning. A mentor's insight should be your foresight. So my mistakes, and which I learned, which were 2020 as hindsight as we call it. So if you are my mentee, then that should be your foresight. I should be sharing those mistakes and saying, how did I overcome as an anecdote? And this is how you should apply. And a mentor normally asks questions more often than providing a straight solution. A straight solution is what a consultant does.
Correct.
Mentor makes you think on an ongoing basis, where we talk about, out of the box and in the box and all that. There is a nice article which says box 1, 2, and 3. Box 1 is your past, box 2 is current, box 3 is your future. So unless you have plugged in all these three boxes, you'll never be able to find a solution to anything.
And in your experience with all these people that you have mentored, what is the biggest roadblock to being mentored?
Why should I ask for advice? I mean, there are so many books, no? Today, आज देखने जाओ whether it is fragile or this or that, or thanks to Times and the other people, everybody reads and everybody recommends. But those recommendations also have to be taken with a pinch of salt. No, the
Right.
books written in America, will it apply here? But no, I mean, somebody has. I'm not saying that they are not capable of writing. They are capable, extremely capable of writing. But you need to pick from that book of what you can apply.
Correct.
Rather than read the book and say this book is very nice and you should read it and you will become an entrepreneur.
I think recently there was this thing that somebody told me. Elon Musk was apparently asked, what is the advice that you would give to budding entrepreneurs, and his comment was, if you need advice to become an entrepreneur, you should not become one.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I wanted to talk to you about your reading as well, since the topic has come up. You also mentioned that you're a voracious reader. So what kind of books do you read, and how do you pick up those books? What what do you depend on for choosing?
Some of my best marketing ideas have come from fiction novels.
Right.
And I in the yesteryears when I used to travel much, on a Delhi flight, I would finish 2.5 novels. And then, of course, thankfully, being in the travel business, there never used to be an extra luggage charge. So whenever one traveled abroad, one would go to Borders and get their, discounted books and all of that. And then 10 years ago, Kindle came into my life.
Right.
So unfortunately, the last 1 year, my reading has reduced dramatically, because now I find the consumption of content very weird. Earlier, it used to be, say, book, magazine, and that's it. And I could select. Now, today, I have a blog, magazine, audio, video, book, and so on and so forth. I'm getting very confused that what is relevant to me at this point of time. And I stopped reading blogs for one of the reasons is blogs are very current. One of the couple of blogs I like reading uh, uh, is Lucky Bhatt from Bangalore on brands and all that.
Mhm.
Then Karthik, Beast of
Right.
Trial.
Yeah.
But what I find is that there is this uh, overlap. I mean, they look at it very clearly from a single individual's perspective, and I look at it from the common man's perspective. So, I mean, the way Karthik would evaluate a brand or something is not how I would evaluate a brand. So, for me, like people said, no, okay, all right, this logo has changed. How does it matter? Yeah? Airtel logo change हुआ. Did people move away? No, no. Zomato problem हुआ. अरे we'll stop using Zomato. Happened, nothing happened. So it's then it becomes a weekly blog, and then do I want to engage and spend time on going back and forth on that, or should I be imbibing, learning and doing it? So that becomes a little dicey for me. So I mean, I have a listed of half a dozen podcasts and all of that, which I try to read, but again, no travel now. So that's there. But I have some books which are like sacrosanct. I mean,
Right.
which I go back, I think, every 2 years, 3 years, which would be Managers Not MBA, which a signed book of Guts by Kevin, and Call of the Mall,
Right.
and Execution.
Hmm.
These are some 7, 8 which are just on top where I sit, and they're dog-eared and with post-its all over the place, and I keep referring them uh, over and over again because. And I gave away a lot of books in the last 2, 3 years. I think more than 400 books I uh, gave away. My daughter, who is also a reader, I said, but your content and all this is different. Let people, that's what it is.
Yeah, so the timelessness of the content is extremely important because you can't be, you know,
Yeah.
just trying to
It's that
dance to dance.
weekly thing to me is like a newspaper.
Correct.
नहीं भी पढ़ा तो कोई जिंदगी में कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला है.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, today only my partner had tweeted about how he's now relishing the section in Indian Express where they talk about news items from 20 years ago.
Right.
He enjoys those news items more than
More than
the current news.
correct. And see, the other thing is just like BOT. There's another thing which I've been now following now nearly 20 years. From This was a learning from ICICI KV Kamath. So Ramchandran, KV Kamath. We used to have this yearly training, learning camps, and where one of the things which we learned was 90 days. If you cannot complete a project in 90 days, you will never complete it. That's been ICICI Bank motto for a long time. They will leave half the things on the 87 day, then come and revisit it after maybe 6 months or 7 months or something. But you have to complete, and which is how my 1 hour mentor is done. Is I do it only in batches of 9 points and 90 days.
Right.
So in that, if you are not serious enough to do it, it doesn't make time. Okay, I may keep making money from you, but I mean that's not my objective. No?
Right. Yeah. So let me come to the closing section. Where I wanted to talk to you about personal branding, and we actually had one entire smartcast with Karthik
Yes.
sometime back on personal branding. But any suggestions or advice that you give to people around building a personal brand, because
Yeah,
these days it's become very important to build a personal brand.
Okay, so this is Karthik calling Karthik, or Anaggh calling Karthik. Karthik's personal brand and social capital is relegated more on the digital front. It has nothing to do with personal brand. Okay. If you see his book, his discussions and all that, is I come from where the personal brand is a brand, like
Correct.
an HUL is a brand. Maybe Anaggh Desai is a brand.
Right.
That begins with how do I dress, how do I talk, what do I wear, how do I travel, how do I communicate. So over the years, people who have been with me, they always know that he will always write with a black or a purple ink on a bond paper with a silver name. Now, these are very, very small, minor things, but people remember you from them. Your
Right.
brand is created from that. On the outside world, digital came much later. No? Digital अभी
Correct.
10 साल हुआ.
Right.
So, and there has to be consistency, online, offline. You can't be, offline, a right wing and a left wing and middle wing and whatever they call these days. I do not like. For me, I do not talk sex, politics, religion, offline and online. Because that's each individual's perspective. I don't want to get into that aspect. Then comes, just like you have your letterheads, visiting cards, signages, talking, behavior, consistency, engagement, sharing. So when you have a sharing or an engagement, one of the things which uh, people over the years on Twitter say that you may not meet us, but till date, it has never ever happened that I have not responded to a tweet. It may take me a day at times, but I will respond to every single tweet. Okay? I will respond to every single email. Even if it is a negative, I will respond saying, I'm sorry, no. So those to me culminate into creating what Anaggh Desai is as a brand. I had earlier decided that I don't want an alias. So every social media or whatever app opens and which I think may be of use or no, I will first go and register my name on it. I may never use it, but it's there. My blog is on it everywhere. So it's consistency across, which to me becomes the personal brand. And digital for me is a subset of the
Correct.
personal branding, which we are talking about. So, like, I mean, for years together, uh, there were two of us in one in the media and one in the travel industry who we were very well known for our socks and ties. We would wear, flamboyant ties of naked women and all of that, and we would known. So a lot of clients would actually go, कि अच्छा तू जाके आया यूरोप तो अभी कौन सा टाई लेके आया kind of. So those were cultivated over the years, and to me that's what I feel. Then you come to social capital is what becomes as to your digital पे क्या है, how do you engage, how do you share, how do you help, all that, how do you talk. So that becomes your social wealth capital, which people look at. And
Right. Right. Yeah. So like you said, I think digital is to be considered as one of the channels of propagation. You still need to go back to the branding 101 of figuring out who you are as a brand. But do you think it's become more important these days to make sure that the personal brand, you are being more deliberate about building that personal brand and not letting it you know just get formed based on some stray comments, actions?
today 80% of the people believe that VC funding हो गया तो personal brand हो गया ना. And I also categorize a lot of entrepreneurs into two: is pre-funding and post-funding. Pre-funding, they will always be available to you, talk to you, answer you, 50 बार फोन करेगा, एक 4 करोड़ का फंडिंग मिल गया, उसके बाद में दे विल नेवर रिस्पॉन्ड टू यू, नथिंग डूइंग, कुछ नहीं, जो करना है वो. So that is the young generation. I don't know, maybe right, maybe wrong, but I mean, we come from a time when you should dress for the job you want and not for the job you're doing.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a great insight.
So I mean, jeans. I gave up my suits. No, the day I said that no, I'm not going back to the corporate life. I had, I don't know what, 32, 33 suits. Luckily, my brother-in-law, who is a similar size, came from the US, and I gave him 2 bags full. And I just wear now. I own a pair of couple of jeans. I have 5 or 6 Nehru waistcoats, which is my standard attire now. I'm thinking of moving to the jabba kurta flannel kind of a thing. So I don't know. I mean, minimalistic bolo ya jo bhi bolo, but
That's
at
your
the same
brand.
time, I'm extremely passionate about my beauty regime or my watches and pens and the collection.
Right. Yeah. What I am taking away from this is whatever may it be, I think consistency is extremely important to help build that brand over a period of time. All right, and now to the final section of the interview where I will give you some topics, words, and I want you to comment on the future relevance of whatever I'm asking you about. Okay, it may sound like a rapid fire, but you can take your time to think and
Right.
comment on it. Okay, so the first one, what do you think? And this is in the context of India. What do you think is the future relevance of offline retail stores?
Extremely high. If you were to refer to my blog for the last 15 years, I have been writing about the same thing. Retail will still be in the US. It has not gone down. So the question of it going down in India is very, very remote.
Right.
93 to 94% is still offline today. Okay. Even assuming another 10 years and 7% multiplies in that, it will still be 50%.
Correct.
So, I mean, if you were to take your groceries or if you were to take your, whatever, cosmetics or your daily thing or shirts or trousers or whatever, I mean, you split it equally between e-commerce and offline. Right? There are some things which you will never buy online. There are some things which you'll always buy online. Online is what? As long as discount, Amazon, why is it there? Because the next day and it is a discount.
What is the future relevance of managers?
I would say slowly going down. I think team capability is where it would be more reliable. And I think from the team, the leadership will start gaining prominence than managers. See, because today's millennials don't want to be managed. They want to be told. ये कर दो. And I mean, I have been pretty much clued in with them because I never count what time, where it is, what they are wearing. Because if that becomes relevance, then a manager, manager's job is कि ये late आया, इसका पैसा काटो. I mean, he's not focused on work. And a leader focuses on the work, not on what that guy is wearing. So today, if we have done away with uniforms and clothes and work from home and all that, then you need that trust element, and that comes in from a leader, not from a manager.
Right. Yeah. Bang on. Next one. What is the future relevance of life coaching?
I think you must have missed out this in my stalking sense because
No, there's very deliberate reason why I am asking you about this.
last year I had said. So see, it's become like everybody wants to be a coach. which is fair enough. I mean, it's neither here nor there. But life coach is what? You've not seen life. What do you coach? You cannot be taught being a life coach. But now you have the, Australia and US and all of them have a certificate which says teaching about life coach. नहीं होता है ना? I mean, what is that? Which is why last year I had also written that this guy who is a 32-year-old is offering me a discount on his fees of a life coach. I mean, what is he going to teach me? I'm still trying to fathom. And I got a couple of calls from a life coach saying that, you should not have written. I said, no, I'm still trying to make sense. You tell me, what is he going to teach me? What am I going to learn? He is asking for 2.5 lakh rupees. I said, is it worth 2.5 lakh rupees? नौकरी करेगा तो भी इतना पैसा नहीं मिलेगा उसको. So it's bullshit. I mean, it's like, that climb the bandwagon. Beach में चला था ना, trainers. Everybody became a trainer. So it's that gap which I see, that gig economy. So earlier, when you didn't have a job or you were looking for a job, so what do? Consulting. अभी क्या हो गया है वो life coach. Well, nobody knows what life coach is.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to put you in the spot to hear this. Okay, the last one, and this is, I'm sure this is more of a passion, so I'm going to, give you some time to think about this.
Sure.
So, what is the future relevance of food blogging?
Extremely high. Okay, see, what people don't realize is there are two sides of the coin. One is people who started their careers as food bloggers and then slowly moved up the value chain to, become a home chef or start a QSR or, whatever, influencer and all that. Now today, look down upon those 20-year-old kids who are doing food blogging. I mean, there's no such thing left as a blog, but it's an Instagram blog or whatever you call it, a reel or showcase. So they look down upon it. And the people who, also look down upon them are people, one who can afford and one who can't afford, but do not have access to free food. Having said that, the hotels and the QSRs and all of them also need, I mean, it's cheap, no? What is the best thing you can do? Sampling, cheapest, best. So it's a good marketing, but unfortunately what happens is that the way it is portrayed or, given out, it becomes as if free food hai or sabne likh diya kind of. So instead of that, some kind of an involvement, some kind of, think it through and look at how it can grow. That's what it is. I mean, food blogging, globally, it is an accepted norm. It's not as if it's in India. India mein kya aega? I mean, everything is moving at a rapid pace. And a 20-year-old getting food 3 times a week free, why would that person not eat? You give me one good reason.
Right.
Yeah? And there are on Instagram, there are lots of people who, are into that business. There are a couple of ladies, morning, evening, they are at a restaurant. Well, I get tired of just looking at them. So, and people, they ask me, why are you taking both sides? I say, no, it's a question of not taking a side. I said, I have been lucky enough to have friends in the business, chefs in the business, and also having traveled so much. So I have had opportunities to try out, eat, all of that. There may be people who won't have that opportunity, but I guess it's there to stay. I mean, let me put it this way. Nothing can be done about it except crib about it. But the hotels save money. The PR agency has nothing else to do because now everything is paid. All your media is paid. So might as well pay the influencer free food and ask them to post it.
Correct. It's part of the ecosystem now. Yeah. On that note, Anagh, I think it was a fantastic, 1.5 hour long chat. We aimed for one, but I think we did,
Yeah.
extend it to 1.5 hours. I had a great time picking your brains on a whole range of topics, from communication to future relevance. And the one insight that I'm going to take away is, picking a target like meeting 200 people in a year. I think that is going to be the highlight of this chat for me. So thanks a lot, Anagh, for this excellent chat.
Bye bye.